So in here we should have what is one of the most unusual looking watches I've seen over the past few years, and it looks so different than anything else that the owner of the brand actually calls this unapologetically niche on their website. And I believe this is the first kind of third-party video about this watch on YouTube, so a bit of a world exclusive, and hopefully today we can both have a bit of a closer look at it. Now I believe what I have here is like a concept unit, because currently there are pre-orders for this watch. I think it actually ships in like April, so do expect some slight variances such as the packaging. But yeah, let's delve in and I'll show you what this is all about. I'm just opening this upside down just because there's a couple of addresses on this. Now, I'm not actually sure what's been sent over because these are loaner units. They will be going back. And those are loaner units from Area Nostalgia. And this is the new brand that's been set up by a fellow YouTuber of mine, Kieran from Top Tier Ticker. You may be aware of his work online. And like I said, I'm not sure if this kind of portable packaging is the final packaging. It may well be, actually. But it is pretty good for transport, and here it is. And as you can see, this is quite the statement piece, especially for a first watch from a brand. This piece is called the Clocktower, and as you can see, well, it straight up looks like a clock, doesn't it? And yeah, I can't think of a watch that really looks anything like this. Now, for total transparency, Kieran is a friend of mine. I met up with him a couple of times. He's a really nice chap, and as such, I can't claim to be bias-free or anything in a video like this. Now, this unit is on loan and shall be going back to him, but certainly bear that factor in mind. And here's a closer look at it, the Clocktower First Edition. He's gone for a square watch design. Apparently, those are his favorites that he's reviewed on his channel in previous years. And well, it doesn't get more unapologetically niche than this, does it? Said he'd always wanted to make a watch like this, and it certainly isn't going to be for everyone. I think this is a bit of a Marmite design. You're either going to love it or hate it, which from the looks of what Kieran's put on the site was precisely the idea. And I find that when you're releasing a watch brand, people seem to go one way or the other. They seem to go slightly on the vanilla side and try and play it safe to attract a wider audience, or they go down a different route like this and play it quite risky, really, in the hopes of attracting a more dedicated niche audience, even if more people don't like the design, because I mean, this does look like nothing else I've seen for sure, especially not with the particularly small dial there, and then this detailing and embellishment all around the edges. Now, this is apparently based on two clock tower designs in Manchester, England, which is the city that's nearest to both me and Kieran, I believe. Now, it certainly has some Gothic inspiration, doesn't it? Has a slightly kind of blocky design, if anything. So this one has a 316L stainless steel case, and for the most part, it just has a glossy finish on each of the sections. It's got a curved sapphire crystal here, and a tiny one at that. And it's actually curved in a different direction to most from the looks of this. So rather than it being entirely domed all the way around in a circular fashion, it's only really curved in this direction, as you can see. So quite peculiar. It also just says here anti-reflective treatment. So the visuals on this one in general aren't too bad anyway, as you can see. There's no obvious blue cast or anything. Apparently this model has 50 meters of water resistance. Let's take a quick look at the case back there. A little bit like that Casio style quad screwed case back here. And then it has like an inscription of like a city skyline there too, with a mini clock tower as well. Quite a flat case back there. The movement inside this watch, by the way, is the Seagull ST6103K, which isn't one I'm familiar with, I don't think. I've reviewed quite a few Seagull hand wound movements before, and that is what this is. This is a manual wound movement. So you get like a fitting, actually, clockwork kind of noise as you wind this watch, which suits the visuals, I suppose. And apparently Kieran had some issues trying to find a movement that would fit this watch properly. This one being the only choice that would keep the watch at a reasonable cost. It says here 36-hour power reserve, 21,600 vibrations per hour, so reasonably smooth. And I think because this watch is, well, the dial is so small, it maybe looks a bit smoother than it actually is too, because the hand is so short, there's less distance between each of the beats. And this one comes in 4 different dial versions, including one which has a luminous dial, which I'm assuming this one may be. It is indeed, yeah. I've just quickly tested that one off camera, and yes, it is the luminous dial, so we'll have a look at that in a minute too. As for the sizes, well, I've got no idea how this one is gonna wear. It's often a bit of a guessing game with square watches. Across the width here, directly across the center, we have a hair over 30 millimeters. The lug to lug looks quite short on this one, 39.2. And the thickness, if you include that unusually curved crystal, only 9.2. Without the crystal, it would be a tiny bit thinner again, maybe closing in towards about 8.5. So it's maybe smaller than it looks. I do wonder if some of it's because of the unusual curvature to the sides there. Looks maybe a bit more bulbous than it actually is. And by default, it comes on this mesh Milanese style band. Stainless steel, of course. Does have quick release tabs here. And overall quality is kind of like a standard fare on this one, albeit it does have like a extra layer of security there. So you've got that double fold over mechanism there at the clasp. We also get one extra strap for free here. It says 2. I think this one just being the brown stitched option from the looks of this. Not sure if this is exactly the same as the one that you'll ultimately receive, because I do remember him mentioning something in his launch video about this. But this one at least feels reasonable. It's one of those heavily oiled style straps, so you can see it does kind of pick up some marks and scratches, which some people like, some people don't like. I'll just quickly get this sized up for my wrist and we'll give it a try on, eh? And you know what? That fits and maybe looks a little bit better than I expected. I don't know why, but when you're holding the watch in your hands, it feels a bit more bulbous than it actually looks on wrist. Now, to be clear, Kieran hasn't, told me to say anything or paid me to say anything or anything like that. And I will be honest, this isn't really a design I'd probably wear on a day-to-day basis myself. You know, it's a pretty dressy design, and all this sort of embellishment is kind of not my scene. I tend to prefer the more minimalist looks, even with my square watches. But this watch does look maybe a bit better than I expected in the flesh. I think more than anything, he's just looking to get the word out there and then let people decide for themselves if this quite extreme design is to their taste or not, because it is quite the exclusive look. And as you can see, certainly doesn't look super thick when on wrist at all. My wrist is only 6¼ inches. I thought maybe this watch would look a bit big for me, but no, it fits relatively well, as you can see. And well, it certainly delivers on the promise of looking like a clock tower, doesn't it? And even though this isn't a design I would personally wear, I've got to give credit to Kieran for going all out with the theming. Now let's give it a try on this leather band as well, and there it is on the leather strap. Maybe personally prefer it on the Milanese band, actually, even if it might not be the most period appropriate. Now, as for price, by the way, I probably should have mentioned that before. At the time of recording, these are currently selling at an early bird price of £299 or $329 US, and that price lasts until the end of December, when I think they're going up by another £30 or so to like the regular RRP, and that's for shipping in April next year. And I have to say, out of all the YouTuber watches so far, this one is probably the most original I've seen. It's not just an iteration of an existing watch to any stretch. Every single part of this seems to be completely unique and standalone. Well, except for the strap, of course. And each one of these first 100 is numbered somewhere too. Not sure if this one has a particular number. I'm assuming because this is a concept unit, it probably doesn't. I can't see one there. But apparently they will all be numbered, the ones that are available at retail. Here's a quick close-up there of the detailing on this one. This one being the lume dial. You also make this in a pearlescent dial, as well as a teal colour and a champagne colour, both of which seem to have like a sunburst effect going on. But apparently this one is the one that's been selling the best because of that full luminescent dial. As for whether I think this watch is worth it or not, well, I think I'm not really in a position to say that, given my inherent bias here. So I'll leave that one up to you on this occasion. But one thing I can judge is the luminescence, eh? Let's give this a shot. I think this is the only version that does come with any sort of luminescence. And as you can see, well, even without the torch, this one's quite bright. And also, as you may have noticed, it's not obvious that this one is a lumed dial. It doesn't have that sickly look like some of the Loris field watches have, for example, with their lumibright substance that does look a bit icky during daylight. This one just kind of looks like a straight up white dial. And there's a look at the clock tower at night. Probably more legible than most real clock towers, this one. And it's been going a while now, and yeah, this is still pretty darn visible. So there's a quick look at the new Area Nostalgia clock tower. One of the most unusual watches I've seen in the last few years, for sure. You'll find it linked in the video description if you do want to check it out for yourself. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one, really. Both the kind of brand name as a whole, Area Nostalgia, quite an unusual brand name, as well as the very unique design of this one. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you somewhere in between? I think either way, Kieran might find your feedback useful on this one.